And welcome everybody. I love that we've got people from all over today. Washington, D.C., Oklahoma City, Scotland, Oklahoma, Illinois. We'll see if a few other people pop in. I know we've got a couple of people in Europe that I think we're planning on attending, so we'll see if they manage to join in. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen with you guys. And we will get started. Go ahead. So in the chat, if you can let me know. So I think everybody can hear me pretty clearly. Can everyone see my screen as well? It's orange and says Strengths Branding. Okay, great. So everyone's seeing what I'm showing. Fantastic. And like I said, at any time during the webinar, during our little session today, please feel free to jump in with your questions, or if you want to, you can hold them till the end. I always hang out at the end to answer any other questions or chat for a little bit. So we can put our cameras back on, and so you can ask Dream or a little bit towards the end. So just want to say thank you to everyone for being here today. We're going to talk about building your confidence and building your brand. And I love to do that through a process which is appreciate, communicate, and then illuminate. And I've been doing my own thing for a while now. I actually became an entrepreneur in 2007 with a project called Bon Vivant Savant, and it came from work that I was doing in the corporate world. I worked at Yum Brands, which was the world's largest restaurant company. And I suppose I didn't say this. I'm Joe. In case you didn't know, I'm Joe, and I live in Lima, Peru, but I am from the States originally. So sorry I didn't get that out there sooner. So I started at Yum Brands, and I was the employee programs coordinator, and I absolutely loved that job. I had gone to a high limit, and it got to a point where I was ready to do more, and unfortunately that opportunity wasn't there. And so I left and branched out on my own, and I started an event company around town where I could get people to get off their computers and get back in touch in life. And it was a lot of fun. I did underground dinners, but man, oh man, as an entrepreneur, did I learn a lot of lessons doing that. And so a lot of what I do now is born from the struggles I had, what I wished was around when I was doing this, and my desire to give back in a way so that people don't have to make the same mistakes I made. And so you can see at the bottom my top 5 talents. And if you have a second, please go ahead and tap in your 5 talents if you have them in the chat box. I am strategic, activator, maximizer, communication, and ideation. So man, I like to talk, I like options, I love to brainstorm, and I want to make sure that everyone has a chance to truly reach their potential and do their dreams the way they want to do them. So I help people take the blinders off and see not only what is possible, but what is probable. Let's see, I got somebody in here answering. So Megan, achiever, learner, strategic, self-assurance, input. Awesome, that's so cool. Developer, restorative, positivity, belief, harmony. Oh, that's super similar to a friend of mine out in California. Oh, we got someone else new joining us. Els, how are you? Welcome. We're just getting started. So as we get started, I talk about strengths branding, and that's what we're really talking about. And honestly, if I could come up with a word other than branding, and if somebody out there wants to help me brainstorm that, I'm open. But for me, what is branding is really defined by what Jeff Bezos says. And Jeff Bezos says it's what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. And honestly, we want to be able to control that, because people are judging us. We're making a difference whether we want to or not, and people are always going to be making opinions and forming opinions. And that's okay, but we want to make sure the majority of those opinions are positive ones. So Tom, belief, consistency, harmony, invigilation, relator. Oh, that goes so beautifully with what I know your project is, Tom. That's pretty exciting. Okay, so people think about personal branding and they think that's your LinkedIn profile, who you are in social media, what you're doing out there. And while we want your LinkedIn profile to reflect who you are authentically, you are not expected, nor should you be, walking around like your LinkedIn profile all the time. It is not just being your LinkedIn profile. That's not what branding is all about. Branding is really all about you being you, authentically, beautifully, weirdly, proudly you. This is the most important thing you can be out there. Because when you're doing that, you're having a chance to express your authentic self with confidence. And when you do that, you start to exude that confidence and you attract the people to you that you most want to attract. So when we think about that, welcome to whomever just joined us. I heard you buzz in. So thanks for joining. We're just getting started. So when we talk about who you're attracting and how personal branding can help you, from a personal point of view, it's great because it's going to show who you are consistently out there. It's going to help you with friendships, with relationships, with dating, with finding your perfect mate, and even with your family. Because when you can show who you are consistently out there, you attract the right people to you. Put you guys on mute real quick. All right. So professionally seems a little bit more obvious. When we think of brand, we think professional. And professionally, yeah, we want to have a brand out there too, because people don't buy products anymore. People buy people. They really want to feel like they can relate. And so for many of you, I'd love to hear if you're interested in branding today from a personal or a professional viewpoint. So if you can put in the chat again for me that you're looking at personal and or professional branding, I'd love to hear that in the chat real quick. And so professionally, what this does for us is it allows us to find our niche more quickly. It allows us to attract the people we most want to work with more easily. And even if you're in a corporate environment, you do become an extension of the brand, but at least you're showing yourself in a way that they will see your value and not pass you over for projects or promotions that are really well deserved. So we've got a couple answers in here. We've got both, and both. Great. So personal and professional. Fantastic. So if you were to look up personal branding on the internet, this was a term that was born almost 20 years ago now. And it is really something that still hasn't taken off 100%. People sort of know what it is, but almost any branding webpage you go to is going to tell you, hey, you need to know your personality. Who are you? What do you like? Your motivations, your strengths, what do you do well? What's your value add to people? What can you offer and what experience do you have? Where are you coming from? And there's other elements. You'll get 13 elements of a personal brand, 7 elements of a personal brand. Go to any website, they're out there. But when I really started looking at this, one of the things I love about strengths is it's all in there. So use your strengths. Now, my experience with strengths starts in 2003 when I took the assessment for the first time. I took the StrengthsFinder assessment, and for me, it gave me a language to explain myself to people. Like, it wasn't new information, and it wasn't something that I went, oh, wow, that's interesting. I never thought about that. No, there were things I thought about all the time, but could never figure out how to express to others. So honestly, so I became sort of an in-house strengths coach at Gallup, which was informal because the person who was in charge left and left me in charge. So I did strengths coaching, I say informally because I wasn't certified by anyone, for all the teams at Yum. And then when I left, it's one of those things that whenever I would come across people and they said, oh, Joe, I'm at this crossroads, I don't know what to do, I'd be like, here, read this book, tell me your top 5 and we'll talk. And so it's just been a piece of me for 15 years now. And I officially became a certified strengths coach in 2015. I was actually in the first group of Spanish certified coaches, as I certified in Mexico City. So I do my coaching in both Spanish and English. But you know, here I am, and I got to strengths, and I looked at branding. And what I realized with so many people out there is when they're starting a new business or they're trying to figure out what's next in their life, they often don't have a very good sense of where they are. And so strengths is a really good place to start, because for those of you who are in a strengths world, I'm going to do a little repeating, but we're going to really think about this through a branding focus right now. So our talents are innate. They are how we naturally think, feel, act, and behave. They are such a part of us that we often don't value them, we don't see them, and they might even be reflected back to us as a weakness or as something negative. And while that's just not true, and they do have their moments where we can be triggered and not great, like my communication can, you know, sometimes not shut up or jump in and want to finish somebody's sentence. When we're aware of those things, we begin to manage them more easily. And so as we take these talents and we invest in them, they become a strength. And that's where we start building our confidence. Now, our talents are not only how we are, it's how we see the world. It's how we perceive others. We are constantly judging others via our own talents and vice versa. So people are seeing us through their lens. But when we can really start to share the common language of strengths, we begin to open the dialogue. We begin to be more open to what others have to say. And we start with a more forgiving place when we're looking at others' behaviors, because we can go, oh my God, that guy needs so much proof for everything. He's so analytical. And sure, he has an analytical talent. But if you know he has an analytical talent, then you know that need for data, that need for numbers, that need for proof is just inherently something he needs and must value. And so we learn how to enter his world that way. Someone with responsibility might say, oh my God, why doesn't anybody ever finish what they want to start or what they say they're going to do? People with responsibility take that so much more personally than someone who doesn't have responsibility as a high talent. So when we can start to understand that about each other, we begin to communicate in a way that is much more effective. Now, again, these are numbers that some of you are going to know and not all of you will. So there are 34 talent themes, and to find someone else out there in the world that shares your same top 5 in any particular order is 1 in 278,000. So if you think you're not unique, you're wrong, because you are. You have something incredibly unique to say. Now, no one is their top 5. They're much more than just 5 talents. We all claim anywhere from 10 to 15 dominant talents normally. So that pushes that number up even higher. But if we still keep talking about our top 5 and we want to find someone with those same top 5 in the same order, now we're talking 1 in 33 million. So from a business perspective, what I want to say with these numbers is that if you think you don't have a unique voice out there in the world, you do. And there is plenty for everyone. And so we want to make sure you're taking that uniqueness and really showcasing its value for others so that you can get to the people who need to be part of your circle faster. So you heard me say a little bit earlier, and I'll ask if anyone has any questions or comments up till now, please go ahead and put it in the chat. Like I said, these are short and sweet. We're actually starting to wrap up. But what I started to say earlier is that if we don't know where we are, who we are, then moving forward is really slow. If I hand you a map and you don't know where you are on that map, then that map does you almost no good. Now you can take that map outside, you can ask someone on the street, hey, where am I? And start to get where you need to go. Or you can say, hey, I need to go here, and have people start giving you different options. But if you know where you are, then you are going to get where you want to go on a path of much less resistance, a little bit faster, more strategically, and that's just going to be good for the end. And as I said, as an entrepreneur, one of the things that happened to me is you don't necessarily know where you are when you're starting. So I invested in a business coaching program that is an awesome one, and I would recommend it to anybody through Mark Mawhinney. You know, and it's $1,500 for 12 weeks, 5 people in the group, and it was tactics. It was actionable, tactical stuff we could do to build our business. But I still didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I wanted to work with, what I really wanted to do. I saw so many applications for strengths that I couldn't figure out where I was going with it. So while the information was good and it was worth the $1,500 investment, it wasn't the right time. And so I've started this program of Appreciate, Communicate, Illuminate, because this is a fundamental piece that everyone needs before they can move forward in anything, professionally or personally. I think this is the true starting point for most people. The clearer we are, the better off we are. So when I talk about appreciate, I mean understand your value. You have talents that no one else has. You do it in a way that no one else does. Now, while each talent will have a universal understanding, they each come with this language, and it's beautiful. And so when you can understand that you have something to offer, your self-esteem begins to soar. You begin to have more confidence. You begin to show yourself, standing up taller, being more confident where you are, being able to not listen to the naysayers so much. You don't take so much stock in it because you know what's really true. And I use this kintsugi bowl because I love the idea that we are whole, and even when we break, that break is part of our experience. And while we may have flaws, and we do, you know, just because we have strengths doesn't mean we don't have other things that have broken us at some point. But when we put them back together and we understand the value that this adds to who we are, it's just that much more beautiful. So once we appreciate who we are and can really understand what each of our talents brings to the table, then we want to be able to communicate that. We want to express our value. We want to be able to tell people who we are, what we are. Our actions are going to speak for us as well. And as long as we're being consistent in what we're saying, we're consistent in what we're doing, then that value is going to come across and shine, and we're going to start attracting those people who need to be with us to us. We're going to be in an area that fills us, that gives us flow, that allows us to be who we are in our strength zone, that almost seems effortless. And a lot of times when it seems effortless, we think, oh, this can't be valuable. How could this be valuable if I'm not struggling, if I'm not trying to make it better? But having a talent and building the strength is making effort. It's just the effort has an incredible rate of return that working on something that is only mediocre or already a flaw really doesn't have. So that communication is great. So then when we combine appreciate and communicate, that's when you illuminate. That's when you're truly embracing your value and you are shining. Because like I said, you're walking taller. You walk in with presence. You talk with presence. Your passion shines. You have an idea of what your why is. Like, these are all pieces that then will just naturally flow from you. And that base gives you an amazing launching off point. I always say it's about stepping into your own spotlight and standing out from the crowd. I use this because I was in theater and I used to do lead roles a lot when I was doing plays, but I hated taking a bow by myself. I just could not stand being in the spotlight by myself. And there was a lack of confidence. There was a lack of other things. I knew I was doing something that I was passionate about, but I still didn't have the confidence in my ability. So taking credit for something I didn't feel confident about felt shady. It felt like being an imposter. And so now in this busy world, that value and that uniqueness is so important that you need to truly comfortably step into who you are beautifully, authentically, wonderfully, proudly weird, and shine so that you can stand out from the crowd, because that's what is going to help you in all aspects of life. So with this in mind, I created a tool called the Strengths Branding Canvas. And this is something I'm happy to share with all of you. It's not just available if you're in my course. I'll be sending it out in a couple of days to everyone who's been on the webinar so you can take a look at it. But it takes the concept of Lean Startup. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the business model plan from Lean Startup, the Canvas plan. But it takes this Canvas model and we've adapted it to branding through strengths. So it's a 4-week process that we go through and we look at the best of your talents. We look at the needs, the values, the motivations of each of your talents. We look at balcony characteristics, what you look like at your best. And we'll create your own description of how that talent works for you. We look at what makes you you. We look at that identity piece, your personality. I have pink hair. That's something about who I am. And so that is going to reflect on who's going to be attracted to working with me, because not everyone is going to appreciate that I have pink hair. And that's okay, right? Because having a strong brand means you're probably not going to attract everyone. In fact, you're going to repel some people. But that's okay. Not everyone is your person. You want to find your people. We talk about values, your motivations, and then we go to your vision and your legacy. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to leave behind? Who do you want people to remember you as being and for? And then if we're looking at then attracting an audience, whether that's attracting a mate or attracting a job or attracting, you know, your clients, then we're going to look at how we want to aim this for you. So I have a 4-week branding course, and of course that's what we're building up here to today. It starts the first week of every month. We're already forming classes for March. The first class is almost full. We have 1 spot left, but I do 2 classes per month. It's 4 weeks where we meet once a week online for 60 to 90 minutes. It depends on how much conversation is happening. They're always recorded, so if you have to leave a little bit early, you can, but you can catch up. It includes a workbook and branding canvas, so all the resources you need to do this. What I try to do is make it a simple, easy shortcut. It's not just about self-reflection. We're going to give you some hints and some help at creating this brand for yourself. You also get unlimited one-on-one coaching with me throughout the program. If there is 30 minutes on my calendar that you can schedule, it is yours. So you have the opportunity to talk to me once a day, once a week, twice a week, whatever you want, and we can talk personally, we can talk professionally, we can talk about a specific problem that's happening. It is entirely up to you. My time is your time. And then at the end of the program, you get 2 final strategy sessions for how to take what you've learned and apply it going forward and see what the best strategy is for you to keep building and moving. And then we also have a Facebook support group, which I'll send out at the end of this, and it'll also be on the next slide. Now, the normal price to the public for this is $4.99. If you pay it all in one payment, I actually knock off $100, so it's $3.99. But for the purposes of today and being registered for this webinar, it's only $349. And I will be fully honest, I've had coaches ask me to raise my prices because they think I'm undervaluing what I do. And the thing is I'm not undervaluing what I'm doing, I'm valuing what you are doing. And that probably sounds cheesy and cliche, but I've been there, and I hate that there aren't enough resources out there for people who are just getting started, who might not have the desire or the ability to put themselves in debt, to put themselves into a program. I don't think money is the biggest motivating factor for what people want to change in their lives. So for me, it's important that this is accessible to as many people as possible because it's a foundation point and it's an important piece. So when you're ready to invest more in bigger programs, you have that money and that capability to do so, and you're not wasting it by investing it too soon. So that's today. Here is my information. I'm going to leave that up for a second. There's my email. There's my Calendly. If you want to take a half hour and talk to me more about the program to see if it's right for you, or you just want to chat through a couple of things and get to know me better, please use my Calendly link and set up some time for us to talk. Classes will be starting the week of March 5th. Dates and times are done when the classmates have signed up because I work with your schedule, not with mine. I tend to be very flexible. Living in Peru, I dedicate myself 100% to these classes. It's what's most important to me. And so you can also connect with me on Facebook and Twitter, Discover Joe Self. LinkedIn, I'm just Joe Self. And we also have the Strengths Branding group on Facebook, or there's another which is Speaking of Strengths. And again, I'll send that link out in the other one. If you're interested in the program, my website is joeself.consulting. You can visit my website, and the way to register for the class is there. You will initially register first, and then when it's confirmed that you're entering, you will be sent a payment link for PayPal. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much for being here today. I hope you've had a chance. Yes, now I start this at the beginning of each month. So the first week of each month is when the classes begin. So if you're not ready for March, you can still go and register and tell me that you want to do it in April or May, and that's fine. So, but if you do, in order to take advantage of the $349, it's best to register as soon as you can, so I can make sure that I get that price for you when you're ready. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen for now. I'm going to bring my camera back up. You're welcome to do the same. If you need to go, you're welcome to go, and thank you so much for your time here. If you have some questions for me or just want to chat for a little bit, I'm going to hang out, and we can do that now. So thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate it. I'm actually going to stop recording as well and say thanks, and so the questions won't be on.